Okay. Show me.
What is up, YouTubers? Dr. C in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in for an exciting video, in my humble opinion. To me at least, this is an exciting video. See, what you see here is a quadcopter frame. You've seen quadcopter frames. This is a Rotorama Samurai version 3 Professional or Pro. And it's a 5-inch racing quadcopter frame, as you can see. If you are into quadcopters, you know that this looks like a racing quadcopter frame. Yeah, so obviously it won't fly like this, or at least not very far. We're gonna be putting some motors on the quadcopter in this video and a stack. And especially the stack, it's a Foxeer stack. Huh? Foxeer stack? It's the first Foxeer stack I've ever used, and not only that, it'll be an 8S setup. This will be my first 8S build. Very exciting, and again, in my humble opinion, very exciting. So, what we'll do in this video, I'll obviously show you that setup, the motors and also the propellers, why not, and the stack. And I'm gonna be test flying it as well in this video. So at the end of this video we should see if it actually flies. So let's get right into it. What's the stack I've chosen? Also, there will be links to the components, all components for this build, in the description down below. Yeah, go check it out. You'll also be helping the channel. Well, actually, is that true? Well, most of the links won't be affiliate links at all. So go have a look if you want to know what setup I chose for this build. There'll be one other video in this build at least, and that'll be about the FV setup, as that is an FV setup I have not used before. Also exciting and interesting for me, and hopefully for you as well. Go check it out. Again, there will be links to all components in the description down below. Let's check out the power setup for this quadcopter. So the power setup or propulsion setup for our 5-inch racer, the motors are from RCInpowers, and this is actually the first time I'm using their motors. Well, maybe I have used their motors in the past, but as relabeled or rebranded motors. You probably know that RCInpowers supplies a lot of other brands. This time, again, I have genuine RCInpowers, and these are Wasp. Wasp? Yeah, Wasp motors. Wasp Major. So why did I get me these motors? Well, partly because these looked the best, the specs looked the best, right? In Rotorama's shop. And also, again, I've never used RCInpowers, so why not try them? And these are not entry-level motors. These are, well, they aren't inexpensive motors. 26-ish, 27-ish euros per corner. That's not an inexpensive motor, right? And also I picked up 4. Ordinarily I pick up 5, one spare, but because these are from Rotorama, which is a European shop, I know that they could get me a 5th one if need be within a week. So that's okay. I didn't get me a spare one this time. Okay, let's have a looky at one of these motors. They come apparently with a couple of decals. That's nice, always nice. Then we've got the motor itself, which actually looks pretty different from from the pictures. Not in a bad way, not at all, by the way. In the product pictures, go have a look. There's a link in the description, and it's not an affiliate link, so go have a look. In the product pictures it looked a little bit like drab green with gold, which looked nice, but black with gold, wow. Hot damn! Are they all like this? Let's checky. Yeah, black. Yeah, black. And the last one, yeah, black. Is it really black? Maybe it's very dark green, but it kind of looks black. Okay, so these are again RCInpowers Wasp Major 22.6 by 6.6. What? Yeah, that's a little bit well, a little bit, more than a little bit confusing if you ask me. So basically these are 2206 motors, that would make more sense, right? Or 2206 motor, but then the 22 is a little bit bigger and also the 06 is a little bit bigger. Yeah, so hot damn, these are very nice looking motors. Hot damn. Yeah. So I'm not sponsored, I bought these motors with my own money. And the link in the description is not an affiliate link. These are very nice looking motors. And what do they feel like? Okay, so I'd say somewhere in between notchy and very supple. There's a little bit of a notch, but feels fine. Okay, so not multi-strand, single strand winding, and it's a Unibel motor. And okay, so yeah, the magnets look like they are curved, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but the gap between the stator and the magnets is minute, very, very small. Yeah, no other real provisions like winding protectors for your screws and such, but they look great. Okay, so what do you actually get with them? Not a whole lot, I think. No. Oh, you do get a spare nut, propeller nut, and you get 2 sets of screws. Yeah, a long set and a medium set, I'd say. So these would probably do well on thicker frames, which is nice because this frame I'm using is a thicker frame. So other spares, no, you don't get, for instance, a spare screw to assemble the motor, and you obviously don't need a C-clip. But yeah, very nice motor. So that's about it for the motors. I'd say in a couple of minutes we'll actually run this quadcopter, so you'll see what they perform like. And with that said, let's have a look at the stars of the show, the stack. On your left you see the Foxeer Reaper 60 amp 4-in-1 ESC, and well, 4-in-1 ESC, it's a 20x20 4-in-1 ESC, nothing special so far. It is however an 8S capable 4-in-1 ESC, so yeah, this will be a 8S build, even though you might have noticed that the motors are more of a 6S motor, and that's because, well, basically there are hardly any 8S motors for 5-inch quadcopters, at least not yet. I will probably try the quadcopter on 8S, but even the lipos, finding lipos for a build like this. Maybe I'll find a lipo in, say, a couple of weeks, or otherwise I'll make some 8S lipos myself. And on your right you see the flight controller, which is an F722 version 2. That's been around for a little while, but as you probably know, I usually use stacks from Diatone or Mamba. This time, again, a Foxeer stack, and I was, this one caught my attention. An 8S capable and a small form factor, 20x20, even though it's probably a little bit bigger than your usual 20x20 4-in-1 ESC. I'll show it to you side by side to a usual, if you will, 20x20 4-in-1 ESC. And the box looks a little bit unassuming. Yeah, a little bit. Very much unassuming. There's nothing on it. This is not a pre-production sample, but I'm not sure why there is no label or anything. Maybe this is simply how they are sold. But you see the Foxeer logo over here. This is again the Reaper 60 amp, which should be enough, right, for a racer, 5-inch racer, and 8S capable. And also I noticed that there looks to be some lacquer or waterproofing, if you will, on this 4-in-1 ESC. You might have noticed. And of course we also have a flight controller, which is tiny. Nonetheless an F7 20x20 flight controller. Yeah, let me see. The flight controller itself only comes with gummies, anti-vibration gummies, 4 of them obviously. The 4-in-1 ESC, let's see what that comes with. Also gummies, and we've got a cable to go in between the flight controller and the 4-in-1 ESC. We get ourselves a capacitor. And this is a, let us see, a 35 volt, 560 microfarad. So maybe, probably, if you were to run the quadcopter on 8S, you might want a bigger, meaning a higher voltage capacitor. Probably. And we also have ourselves a power cable with an XC60. Pretty long cable actually. But yeah, pre-soldered already, very nice. So you might be mistaken to think that this flight controller, this F7 flight controller, also from Foxeer, in case it wasn't clear, is tiny. And it is small, however it's more that this 4-in-1 ESC is pretty big. So let me bring in a comparison. This is a Mamba stack. This is an F7 flight controller, and consequently this is a 4-in-1 ESC as well. And this is a very typical stack for, say, a 3-inch quadcopter, or even one of the new long-range lightweight quadcopters. This stack would do well in a lightweight 5-inch quadcopter, for instance. And you can see that now the flight controller from Foxeer looks reasonably sized. Still small, but not ultra small. Well, yeah, it's a little bit, maybe a little bit smaller than this diatone flight controller, but nothing out of the ordinary. However, this 4-in-1 ESC, this 60 amp 4-in-1 ESC is, well, quite a lot bigger than this. This is a 40 amp 4-in-1 ESC, and yeah, more at home in a smaller quadcopter or a lightweight quadcopter. And that is why I bought me this one. Also, you can see that this 4-in-1 ESC isn't mounted in gummies, but well, that's a detail. I don't really need the 4-in-1 ESC to be mounted in gummies, to be honest, but it's a safety precaution. Probably in a crash, yeah, there's more of a chance for the 4-in-1 ESC to survive a crash, I'd say. So yeah, it's a safety precaution, but not really needed. But still, yeah, for a racer, a 5-inch racer, this 4-in-1 ESC is definitely more at home in that, right? Yeah, you'd feel better full throttling away with this 4-in-1 ESC in a 5-inch racing quadcopter. Okay, so that's the stack basically. And the last part of the propulsion setup is basically the propellers, right? And these are brand new dual prop new cyclones, and these are the T5146 versions. There is a less aggressive version, the 45, I'm not completely sure, but again, these are the most aggressive versions of the new cyclones. Interesting. As soon as I saw these pop up at the Foxeer site, I knew I wanted some. And if you have been in the quadcopter game for a while, you will know this name, right? The original cyclones were at some point the prop to have. I'll put up a picture of the original cyclones. You will know these propellers. Again, those were the propellers at some point. And I must say that these new cyclones look a little bit more conventional. Yeah, but we will see what they are like. And then suddenly things looked a whole lot different, don't they? Yeah, obviously I said about building this quadcopter. And while building it, I ran into a couple of things I wanted to share with you. Not really problems, but definitely things you need to know. If you were considering this Reaper 60 or the 65 amp version 4-in-1 ESC, or this F7, this super tiny F7 flight controller, 20 by 20 hole pattern, right? And this frame also has a 20 by 20 hole pattern, so that works out. However, both this 4-in-1 ESC and this F7 flight controller have 3mm holes, or in other words, they are meant for 3mm bolts. And most frames have 2mm holes in the 20 by 20 bolt pattern, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe while selecting your frame, you could make the holes a little bit bigger. Maybe I could have done that. Could have opened those up. I have adapters though, little plastic adapters from 2mm to 3mm. Do I? Yeah, I have them in this bag, the black rings. Okay, so those do not come with this Foxeer 4-in-1 ESC or the flight controller, so keep that in mind. You'll have to source something yourself, or again, simply use 3mm bolts and then you're set. And yeah, also, as this is a very super tiny F7 flight controller, the solder points are consequently small. So this is probably an advanced build, probably. However, the solder points you see at the top, also on the product page, go look it up, are also at the bottom of the flight controller. And in fact, at the bottom they are a little bit bigger. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe you can alter things. For instance, there are solder pads at the rear for your VTX and the camera. What I will do is use the pads at the bottom for my camera and the ones at the top for the VTX. That way you are left with a little more spacing. Yeah, and that's it basically. Nothing other than that. I've already run the motors, everything works. Well, everything works, it hasn't flown obviously, but they spin and yeah, the flight controller works. I will be completing this build and then I'll meet you on the field for a first flight test. For you that'll be just a second. I have a little more work for me in this, but yeah, again, everything worked first time around, so this is a fluent build. Let's do some flying. Alrighty guys, I'm out here at the field. As you can tell, it's a nice sunny day. It is windy, so I hope you'll be able to hear what I'm saying. And I've got the Samurai Pro version 3 8S with a Foxeer stack and RCInpowers motors and dull cyclone propellers. And we're gonna try to fly it here, line of sight. And so the build went well. There's one problem, not a huge problem, but 8S lipos are hard to get, hard to find. I haven't found a suitable 8S lipo yet. If you know of any suitable, like around 1000 milliamp hour 8S lipo for me, let me know in the comment section below. That'd help, but that won't prevent us from test flying the quadcopter, of course. I'll be flying it on 6S, and yeah, we'll see how that works out. Here we go. Alrighty guys, maiden line of sight test flight of the Rotorama Samurai Pro version 3 or version 3 Pro with Foxeer stack, RCInpowers motors and dull cyclone propellers. Here we go, wish me luck.
Arm motors.
Okay, at least it arms. And we are up and away. First thing I noticed is that it's not very noisy. You will probably not be able to hear the quadcopter much. And yeah, it's also windy, but I can hardly hear it at all. It's also pretty hard to keep the orientation in check, or keep sight of the orientation.
1 minute.
Of course, the proof will be more in FPV flying the quadcopter, but okay. And also, this is completely a 100% stock beta flight. Makes sense, right? Made a flight. First little test flight, so far, not bad at all. Let's try a punch out. Why don't we? Huh. Yeah, this will be a fast quadcopter. Very nice. That was about 50%. So it seems underpowered, but that's mostly because it's not very noisy. This is a very quiet quadcopter somehow. How is that possible?
2 minutes.
Huh. Amazing. Also, it's been a while since I last line of sight test flew a quadcopter. Yeah. But yeah, mostly it's hard to keep track of. Very hard. But it flies, and that's the main thing here. Very nice. Silent quadcopter, what the hell? But yeah, it flies just fine. Very, very nice. Cool stuff, man. Do I still have orientation? Yeah. Hot damn. Yeah, it is hard to fly line of sight. This is not a line of sight flying quadcopter. Maybe with different colors of propellers, but even then. But it flies well. Very, very nice. It looks as if the stock tune is at least reasonable, but we'll see. In the next video we'll fly this quadcopter FPV, and I'll tell you about the FPV setup as well. Should be coming up soon, as the quadcopter apparently flies. That helps. Yeah. But yeah, okay, so far I'm happy, man. This is nice. Very quiet. Weirdly quiet. Doesn't matter, but yeah, unexpectedly quiet. Oh, acceleration is nice. Yeah, it packs some punch. Very nice, even though I'm flying it at a leisurely pace here. Okay, so long story short, the setup flies, right? This is the first time I'm using a Foxeer stack, and apparently you can make flying quadcopters with that stack. That's a nice start. And we'll be testing this quadcopter more. Speaking of, that'll be in the next video. Obviously I'll put it to more of its paces in the FPV test flying part of this series. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below. And also tell me what you think of this here quadcopter and its components maybe. I'll be interested to see what you think of the choice of components. For now, I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye. Hot cheeky day.